I'm Alan Stravinsky. I'm from Racine, Wisconsin. Live between there and the south side of Chicago, and I live in Stanton, Tennessee now.
Dr. Alpha Stewart. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center in Memphis.
I am Rob Filial. I'm the Hamilton County Juvenile Court Judge in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
My name is Rob Mortensen, and I'm from Nashville.
I'm the mayor of Stanton, Tennessee, home of Blue Oval City with Ford.
I'm on the faculty at the university where I run the Center for Youth Advocacy and Wellbeing, and I'm developing the program for community psychiatry for the Department of Psychiatry. But I was named Senior Associate Dean for Community Health Engagement about 3 years ago, so that's my primary role now.
I am the judge of Hamilton County Juvenile Court, so a busy court, of course a full-time position, a busy court. We have about 100 employees and 7 full-time courtrooms at our court. And I do a lot of things there. I could wear a lot of hats, but I do a lot of things, but love the opportunity every day to affect hopefully good things for children and families.
So I advocate for different groups. I work with a lot of kids issues, but advocating for kids throughout the state and the state legislature. I work in politics on the state and local level.
Since my childhood, you know, I listened to my friends, the stories they told, how they were treated by their parents, and you know, some of the stories are pretty rough. So it's immediately, for me, it became a substantive issue.
It's always been a passion, but since I'm not a child psychiatrist, I'm an adult trained psychiatrist in community work. About 10, 15 years ago, when I returned, I guess 20 years, it's 2023. When I returned to Memphis in 2003, I got involved as a volunteer community member in what was then the first system of care in Memphis.
I mean, going back to my dad's, you know, when I was young, you know, working in the church, I worked in children's church. I think it's always been there. You know, as a young adult, I taught youth Sunday school class, and then in my practice of law, I represented varied clients, but also represented a lot of young people. In fact, I jokingly was known as the lawyer for the local high school football team. But you know, I had this opportunity. I think God blessed me with an opportunity to have a larger role in the role that I currently have as judge of a big county in Tennessee. And further allows me to be involved in some statewide activities that with the Judges Conference and even with the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth to hopefully be able to be a part of positive things for children and families across the state.
So my parents always had foster kids, so we always had kids in our house. And I think at some point in time, I was always interested in kids issues, and I was always gravitating towards kids issues. And what I realized after I was knee-deep in it is that was the reason. The reason is because my parents always had that passion and kind of, I assume, passed it down to me. But so maybe when I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6, when we had our first foster kids on our own.
Is a huge, huge issue. Adverse childhood experiences, huge issue. Social, emotional learning, huge issue. Those seem to be the recurrent foundational issues that we face throughout the state, and we need to focus more on those.
The area of what is called juvenile justice has been my real passion work. I have a sense of moral obligation. Coming from Shelby County, where we were once under the mandate of the Department of Justice to improve our services for kids who were held in that system, I have successfully lobbied across the state to change the language from juvenile to child, adolescent, youth, young adult. When we're talking about that child, I can't change the juvenile justice system and the law and the everything, but when we're talking about a child, TCCY was the first to adopt the new language of youth when we renamed our Juvenile Justice Committee to the Youth Justice Committee. So that's probably the number one thing. The second is trauma and the impact of trauma on the development of mental illness, on behavioral issues in kids, which often direct them into the justice system, and how the schools don't really know how to deal with kids who've been impacted by trauma and working with them on that.
One that stands out, I think more so than ever, is that kids aging out of custody. Back when I started, it was 18, that was the end, right? And once you were finished, you were 18 years old and now you're quote unquote an adult. What we know is that's not true. I mean, if you've got kids, you know, even now that I've got 28-year-olds, they're still your kids. They're still coming back to you for help. So we made that change, and working at the state legislature, extending or giving that option to folks to extend how long they not stay in custody, but you know, would be able to receive help. So I think that was a great moment that we as a state realized that we can help people beyond just 18, and we also realized that maybe they're not adults at 18. And most of us are not adults at 50, so let alone 18.
Oh my goodness, yeah. You know, everybody who comes into my office, they've got lots of opinions what they want to do, what we should do, how the city of Stanton should spend their money and how the county should spend their money, blah, blah, blah. You give me data though, hard data, I can look at it and say, ooh, this is where we're doing well, this is where we're not doing well, guess where we need to focus, because we want this metric to jump up and we need to improve ourselves. So it's continuous improvement process is based on, founded on good, solid data, whether you like it or not. There's what the data say.
So I think our role in the constellation of states, the state's agencies that do the work for the citizens of Tennessee to improve life and the quality of life for all Tennesseans, I think our work fundamentally allows us to be a resource to our state agency partners and community-based organizations, but also to be a trusted resource for the families and kids and communities that we serve and work with.
I think the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth, I know the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth is in a well-positioned place to be able to provide expertise, good data that's not tainted by any particular preference or political party. The numbers are what they are. TCCY is able to draw that information and be trusted with it, with integrity, and therefore it can be, that's important, I believe. That's really important in being able to be used by real policy decision makers across the state.
At the end of the day, TCCY brings independence, and it brings a voice that looks at the entire state and not just one entity or not just one topic. I think we're the web that ties all of these things together, and we're able to look at things from a much broader perspective and maybe come up with ideas and solutions that are a little outside the box because we have a much broader perspective.
I love high-quality research that we can put in the hands of policymakers to make strategic decisions. And it's not just theory-based research, it's evidence-based research. We have got to do better on that. And I would love to make that a forefront of what we can do as both TCCY, but at the state all across.
Clearly, I'm going to continue to push to replace juvenile with youth. I'm also going to continue advocating for an understanding within the youth justice system of the role of trauma and undiagnosed, untreated mental illness in shaping the behaviors that result in kids winding up there. The data is very clear in Tennessee as well as across the country that young people who are in our system have unmet need, and maybe if we as adults who provide the protective factor to their risk factors, maybe if we as adults do a better job of setting things up to get upstream prevention-wise, looking at this as a public health issue and not just a response to an activity or behavior, maybe then we'll make some headway. And I think my role here on the commission will allow me to have that voice, that presence, that ability to speak with authenticity, clarity, and expertise to make that happen.
But I hope, while I'm on the commission, to be able to continue the work, the long-standing work that the commission's done, to be a little part of that, to be an encourager to all those who are in the trenches and doing the hard work, and just be a trusted resource for service providers and departments and nonprofits throughout the state, so we can all make better decisions and employ better resources that are truly going to make positive change for the children and families of Tennessee.
For me, at the end of the day, making a difference in people's lives, and I know with what I do with the commission and the work that I've done in the past, I don't ever get to see it. I'm not on the ground, but I know we are making a difference. So making a difference, whatever that is, making somebody's life a little better, changing somebody's life that they maybe can change another person's life, but make Tennessee and this country a better place.